Hello there, time for another webcast. Because it's Wednesday and it's quiet. Listen, I haven't heard silence in about 5 days, so if I look a little bit psychotic and my behaviour is a little bit strange, you know why. Kid's basically been doing his ends recently. You could see it that we've hit the terrible twos with a vengeance in the last week. Oh yes, have we? So it's been sort of like a cross between living in a nut house and a war zone. So I'm a bit shell shocked. But gladly, I've got a bit of time today to do normal things and have a bit of relaxation. Can't do a lot of 3D today because managed to do my wrist in a bit. It'll be fine. Just need a day's rest. Which is a great excuse just to do normal things, you know, things that you don't normally get to do. It's like most guys in the world of 3D eat, breathe, sleep and shit 3D. It's all we do. You know, a lot of us do not have much of a life outside of it. We have a life, but not much of a life. Because it takes up every waking moment. If you want to be as good as you can possibly be at anything in life, you've got to make sure that you give everything you've got. To do that, it means you've got to give stuff up. So, you know, I've given a lot of things up over the years to learn sort of digital sculpting in 3D. I gave up, you know, early on, sort of nights out, and going out for a drink with friends, and going to gigs, going to see films, things like that, to give me more time. Gave up basic interaction with people. Because for about a year and a half I just was basically living in front of the computer, sort of minimum 14 hours a day, taking in everything I possibly could on the programs that I chose. It's a choice I made, you know. As I mentioned before, I'm a clinical insomniac, but you will find that insomnia of one shape or form is quite common in the industry. Now, whether that's because it attracts insomniacs, because you've got to be a bloody insomniac to learn half the stuff, you know, in the time that you have, or whether it's a case of it turns you into an insomniac because all of a sudden your brain's full of all these ideas and possibilities. It's like, imagine when you were a kid, you'd have this wonderful idea when you first started to draw of what you want to draw. Do you want to draw this monster standing in front of a city that's been destroyed and all this? And then you realise that you're having trouble just drawing a, you know, a house or a tree, sort of lollipop tree sort of thing. So those sort of ideas get put to the back burner, and we learn not what we know, but what we don't know. That's the difference between somebody starting out and somebody who's been doing things a bit longer. When you start out, every time you go near a program like Zbrushers, 3D Studio, Max exercise, it doesn't matter what it is, you start to think, wait a minute, what if I do something wrong? I'm going to ruin all this work. Fear is the enemy in 3D. The moment you are scared of what you're doing and concerned that you're going to make a mistake, you've lost. You're going to turn out crud more times than not. It's learning to get past the fear. And that comes with confidence. There's many ways to build confidence, but which is part of what I do, you know, when I'm training people. But sometimes you see a person with a lot of confidence, and they immediately just take off in no time at all, and they leave a lot of people who were starting before them behind, and they're producing sculpts of such wonderful quality that you know, it puts a few people's noses out of joint. I've seen it quite a few times. But yeah, by confidence, what do I mean? I don't mean going around like Muhammad Ali saying I am the greatest. No, that's not confidence, that's big-headedness. There's a big difference. Confidence is knowing, have enough self-belief that when you touch your sculpt and make this stroke, that you know exactly what it's going to do. You know how it's going to turn out, how it's going to turn out, because you've got the confidence behind you saying, well look, I've done this before. and it may be relatively easy in comparison to somebody with no confidence, who's thinking, well, wait a minute, if I move this here, it's not going to look right and I might mess it up. But again, look, let's have a bit of reality check here, at the risk of offending virtually everybody on YouTube. Art is not important. Bit of a stupid statement for an artist to make. Let me sort of explain what I mean. If you make a mistake, it's not going to cost you your life. Now, if you're a soldier in a war zone like Iraq, and you screw up, there's a damn good chance you're going to get your head blown off, which obviously has pretty serious consequences. In art, what's the worst that can happen? You produce a work that's crap. Chances are you're never going to show anybody it. You might feel a bit down for an hour or so, but you start again, and you'll have learnt something from that process. By failing, you've learnt why you failed, what went wrong. That's why failure is important to every single artist. Because an artist who never fails is an artist who never grows. It's as simple as that. I've actually just had something to write on that very subject. That's why it sort of went into this bit. But yeah, confidence is a big thing. Same as your mood, how you're thinking at the time can affect what you sculpt and how well you sculpt. Not every artist is like this. There's some artists, it doesn't matter if they're in the middle of downtown Baghdad, they can still, you know, bombs dropping around, they can still sculpt fantastic. Then you've got other guys that, like me, if they have moments of extreme stress, it's as if I've never touched a program before in my life. I could show you 3D sculpts I've done when I've been stressed, and you wouldn't believe it's the same man that goes and puts DVDs out. Because as an artist, which sounds a really big-headed phrase, but that's what I am, an artist, you know. I have to be in the right place psychologically. If I'm stressed, if I'm pissed off, it won't work. If I'm angry, it will work. If I'm happy, it'll work. Positive emotions plus anger. Anger always works for me. Then it works. So stress is bad. What do you do when you're stressed? Well, you've got two options. Either don't sculpt until you're in the right place, like psychologically in this little box in here, or you try and sculpt through it. Which is actually what I do, more often than not. Those of you that have watched my work over the years will notice that at random times in each year, I'll start doing really crazy models. I think I mentioned it last time. Sort of house bricks and fence posts. Stupid things. The reason I do that is just so that I can keep up to speed with the skills, and because you do lose your sense of touch on ZBrush if you leave it for too long. And you go back a while back, I had to leave about a month before I went back to ZBrush. It was just messing around until then. I had to do a lot of sort of traditional poly model and stuff, and it took me about 2 days to get my feel back, get my arm back in, if you know what I mean. Because I had a lot of stuff to do with 3D Max and XSI that I had to get done. So yeah, as these podcasts have started to take on a life of their own, these video casts in 2 sections, I'm going to have to keep an eye on the time. Now, I'm using Camtasia Studio incidentally to record this because it means I can see myself there, and I know if I've been framed properly in the picture. And I know that around about there is the edge of the picture, and the other edge is there. There's the top, and the bottom's around sort of there. So I know I don't go on the screen. But unfortunately, it doesn't have a clock on to see how long you've been bloody recording, so I don't know how long I've been recording. It could be 10 minutes, it could be 10 hours. We don't actually know. But, because YouTube, of course, only accepts maximum 10 minutes. This is a bit of a bugger, really, isn't it? I can see why they do it, you know, but because it basically discourages piracy and all that. I'll cover more on piracy and 3D in my next section of this video. In fact, I might break it into sections starting now, because it's going to be much easier, isn't it? Otherwise, I want to spend all day editing this bloody thing and trying to cut things out, like I did with the last one. And then we'll also end up with a bit of a sound problem, which we had on the last one. I'm hoping I don't have it on this one, because it wasn't on the first one. We'll have to see. If there is, I do apologise, and it means I'm going to spend about half an hour putting the sound as near into sync as I can in After Effects, but I'd rather not, you know, etc. Right, I'm going to pause this, and I'll see you in next part of this, which is part of this one, but it's not. See.